Imagine this, the world outside is still quiet, wrapped in the familiar comfort of dawn. Your coffee is brewing, the day's routine just beginning to unfold. You flip on the news, expecting the usual morning chatter, but it's gone, replaced by a single, somber tone. The anchors' voices are strained, their faces grim. This isn't just another story. A headline blares across the screen, stark and unbelievable. The balance of world power has shifted overnight. Global markets are in free fall. Your retirement fund, your savings, evaporating in real time on the screen. A new alliance, one you've never heard of, has declared itself dominant. It's not a single country, but a coalition of nations, some former rivals, now united under a single, unfamiliar banner. Borders you thought were permanent are being redrawn, not with armies, but with economic and technological leverage that has rendered old pacts meaningless. And in that moment, the certainty you've grown up with feels shaky, even broken. For your entire life, there's been an unspoken assumption. The world, for all its chaos, had a center of gravity. The US dollar was king. The US Navy patrolled the seas. Now that entire framework, the operating system of the modern world for nearly a century, is glitching. The foundation itself is cracking. We've always assumed superpowers rise slowly, predictably. We think of the Roman Empire, which took centuries to dominate the Mediterranean, or the British Empire, whose influence grew over generations, ship by ship, colony by colony. Their power was built on tangible things. But what if the old rules of empire building no longer apply? What if the next global leader doesn't need to conquer land or build the biggest army? What if its rise isn't measured in decades, but in months, happening in the invisible realm of data and algorithms? The obvious candidate is China. Its economic engine has reshaped the globe. It's aiming for dominance in AI and quantum computing, and its navy now outnumbers the US fleet. Is its ascent inevitable? Then there's India, a demographic giant. 1.5 billion people, with a median age under 30. It's the world's largest democracy, a cauldron of innovation and ambition, poised to become the third largest economy. Could its vibrant, chaotic energy be the key? Or could it be something stranger, a power not defined by armies or borders? Imagine a force that doesn't have a flag or a capital city, but controls the digital platforms we use every day, the financial algorithms that move trillions, and the flow of information that shapes our reality. To understand our future, we have to look past the headlines and traditional metrics of power. By the end of this video, we're going to dissect the 3 core pillars of global dominance: economic might, military strength, and technological control. By analyzing who is winning in each of these arenas, a surprising picture emerges. Get ready, because the conclusion isn't what you'll find in textbooks or hear from mainstream pundits. It will shake every assumption you have about how our world is run. This isn't just geopolitics. It's the blueprint for the 21st century, and that's the system we're decoding today. Let's start with the most fundamental measure of global influence: raw military power. For centuries, this has been the ultimate test of a superpower. It's the hard currency of geopolitics, the ability to project force, protect trade, enforce treaties, and deter potential adversaries. On this front, the United States remains in a league of its own. Its annual defense budget is approaching an astronomical $1 trillion. That is more than the combined military spending of the next 10 countries. A list that includes powers like China, Russia, and India. This colossal investment means America alone accounts for nearly 40% of all military expenditure on the planet, funding a vast ecosystem of advanced research, global logistics, and highly trained personnel. So what does that $1 trillion budget actually buy? It buys unparalleled global reach. The US Navy operates 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, essentially 100,000-ton floating cities and mobile air bases. No other nation has more than 3. It commands a silent fleet of the world's most advanced submarines, and in the skies, it deploys stealth bombers capable of penetrating any air defense system on Earth. Underpinning all of this is a network of over 750 military bases scattered across the globe. These bases act as strategic lily pads, allowing Washington to rapidly deploy forces to any corner of the world. When you combine these assets, the conclusion is clear. No other country can project and sustain military power globally like the US does. This overwhelming dominance is why, for the last 30 years, international relations experts have described the world as a unipolar security order, a system where one nation stands alone at the top, shaping the global security environment. But, and this is the crucial point, that picture of total dominance is painted with a very broad brush. When you zoom in from the global map to a specific vital region, the Indo-Pacific, the image begins to blur, and a very different reality emerges. Here, China's rise has been nothing short of meteoric. Fueled by its economic boom, Beijing has undertaken an unprecedented military modernization. By pure number of warships, the People's Liberation Army Navy is now the largest in the world, with more battle force ships than the United States. And these aren't aging relics. The vast majority of China's fleet is brand new, built in the last decade and packed with modern sensors and missile systems, a testament to its staggering shipbuilding capacity that dwarfs its rivals. But it's not just about the number of hulls, it's about firepower. A key metric is missile launch capacity, the number of vertical launch cells a fleet possesses. Projections show that by 2027, China's fleet could surpass the entire US Navy in this critical measure of offensive power. This has profound consequences. It means that in the Western Pacific, the strategically vital waters around Taiwan and the South China Sea, the military balance is no longer a foregone conclusion. The era of uncontested American naval supremacy in China's backyard is over. The security order here is rapidly becoming bipolar. It's a direct one-on-one contest for dominance, with the US and China staring each other down across the Taiwan Strait, leaving allies like Japan and South Korea in an increasingly precarious position. So, to be clear, the question isn't whether America is still the world's most powerful military. Globally, it is. The real question is one of strategic geometry. Can America's globe-spanning power, stretched thin by commitments everywhere, effectively counter a rival that is concentrating all of its formidable strength on a single region? Now, let's talk economics. The engine of power. For decades, the dominant question was when, not if, China would overtake the United States as the world's largest economy. This was fueled by China's economic miracle. Decades of blistering growth that turned it into the world's factory. Headlines confidently claimed the moment was imminent. Some forecasts even pinpointed 2028, but the story has taken a dramatic turn. Today, analysts have walked those predictions back. The new consensus, some say maybe 2036. Others, in a stunning reversal, suggest it may never happen at all. So, what changed? While China's economy has stumbled, America's has surged. China's GDP, at nearly $19 trillion, has seen its growth engine sputter. In contrast, the US economy has shown incredible resilience, surging past $29 trillion, powered by tech innovation and robust consumer spending. But this GDP gap is a symptom of deeper problems. China is grappling with profound structural crises. Its real estate market, once a primary growth driver, is collapsing. Giants like Evergrande have defaulted, leaving behind ghost cities and a mountain of debt. Then there's the hidden debt bomb. Beyond official figures, local governments have borrowed trillions for questionable projects. And looming over everything is a demographic time bomb. The one-child policy's legacy means a shrinking workforce and a rapidly aging population, straining its social safety net. But even this picture misses the most critical element of power. Raw GDP isn't the whole story. The real secret weapon in the 21st century economic contest is finance. And in this invisible domain, the United States doesn't just lead, it quietly and absolutely dominates. The The foundation of this power is the US dollar. As the world's reserve currency, it makes up nearly 60% of all foreign exchange reserves. In times of crisis, nations and investors alike flee to the safety of the dollar. The dollar is involved in a staggering 89% of all currency trades. If a company in Brazil wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, the transaction is almost certainly priced and settled in US dollars. Furthermore, over 60% of all international debt is issued in dollars. This means countries and corporations worldwide must constantly acquire dollars just to pay back their loans, creating perpetual demand. This financial architecture means that no matter who makes the goods, China, Germany, or India, the payments and credit often flow through American-controlled systems. This isn't just a passive advantage, it's an active weapon. The US can leverage its control over the world's financial plumbing. By cutting nations off from payment platforms like SWIFT, it can effectively lock them out of the global economy. So, while the world of physical production has become multipolar, the world of finance, the system that gives it all value, remains starkly unipolar with its capital in Washington. This is an invisible empire of finance, a form of structural power that no other nation comes close to matching. But the 21st century is about more than tanks and money. There's a third order emerging, one that may decide who rules the future. Call it the digital empire order. Here's how it breaks down. The US model, market-driven, led by Silicon Valley giants like Google, Meta, and OpenAI. Innovation first, regulation later. The Chinese model, state-driven, with tech tied directly to surveillance and control. The Great Firewall, the social credit system, and government-backed AI. The European model, rights-driven, where regulations like GDPR set global rules for privacy, data use, and digital fairness. Each model exports not just technology, but values, and companies worldwide must choose which system to follow. Already the EU's GDPR has forced even American companies to change how they handle your data. This digital battlefield might not look like tanks rolling across borders, but whoever wins here could quietly control the operating system of the modern world. Now let's look beyond the US and China. India, with nearly 1.5 billion people, a fast-growing economy, and a booming tech sector, India is often called a future superpower. But it faces major obstacles: weak infrastructure, deep inequality, and reliance on imported energy. Whether it becomes a true superpower depends on how it handles those challenges. The European Union, economically huge and a regulatory superpower. The EU may lack a unified military, but its ability to set global rules, like GDPR or environmental standards, gives it enormous influence. Some call it the invisible superpower, the global south. Countries like Indonesia and much of Africa may be today's underdogs, but their demographics tell a different story. Africa's population is set to double by 2050, making it the center of the world's workforce. Indonesia could be a top 4 economy by mid-century. These regions may be the sleeping giants of the next century. So maybe the next superpower isn't the country you expect. Maybe it's waiting in the places we usually ignore. So, who's next? Here's the truth. No single country checks every box. The US still dominates militarily and financially. China wields manufacturing power but faces internal crises. India has population strength but structural weaknesses. The EU sets global rules but lacks hard power. Africa and Indonesia hold the long-term demographic key. The future superpower might not look like America in the 20th century. It may not be one nation at all, but a contest of systems where control over digital rules and financial networks outweighs traditional borders and armies. So now the question is yours. Who do you think will be the next superpower? America? China? Or someone nobody's watching yet? Share your answer below. So here's the big question. Can the world handle a superpower shift without chaos? History doesn't give us much hope. The last time Global systems collapsed. It triggered the Great Depression, millions unemployed, economies shattered, societies radicalized. And that connects directly to another urgent question. Are we one step from another Great Depression? Because the same fragile forces that could determine the next superpower could also plunge the world into its darkest economic nightmare. Watch that video next. The connections will surprise you.